Welcome to another week's analysis behind the news. And the purpose of this segment every week is to give an analysis behind the news so that you can better understand what is going on. There's an organization called the Council on Foreign Relations, which has come out more since H.W.'s tenure as the president. We in the John Birch Society for years was trying to expose this organization and the Trilateral Commission as internationalist organizations whose members were really trying to bring the United States into a global new world order. Now, perhaps there are a member or two in the CFR that are not for this particular plan. It's difficult to say the same for the Trilateral Commission. And without going into the history, let's just say that the Council on Foreign Relations, since its onset, has been for a world government under a system of socialism. They may argue as to the form and to the intensity, but that primarily is its goal. Anyone who's a member for any length of time understands that, as does Newt Gingrich, who's been a member for quite some time. Recently, we have seen in the Foreign Affairs magazine, which is the official magazine of the Council on Foreign Relations, an article, and very blatant in its title, "Time to Attack Iran." They say that now's the time to do it. Don't worry about the consequences. We'll absorb whatever retaliation that comes about as a result. But we need to bomb Iran because they may get the bomb. Well, the problem with all of this is that Iran doesn't have any nuclear capability unless it's given to them by Russia, China, and Pakistan. And so these are the people that are helping them. Iran is nothing more than a surrogate state for I'll keep calling it the Soviet Union, because really that's what it still is, regardless of the facade that they use today to convince Americans that communism is gone and the threat of this monster is gone. It's not. Iran is just the latest. When they want a war, and they'll find any excuse to do it. By the way, you may not have noticed it, but Iran has agreed to allow UN atomic inspectors into their country. Now, this wasn't on the front page news. It was kind of buried in the back pages. It's Iraq all over again. You've got the bomb. We're going to bring in the inspectors. The inspectors can't find the bomb. So if they can't find the bomb, obviously you hit it. And that's the same game they'll play with Iran, and then we are going to have to go to war with them, and on and on and on. Perpetual war for perpetual peace, as it was said in the novel 1984. And in the way of Shakespeare in Henry IV, he said, "Busy, giddy minds on foreign quarrels." This takes people's eyes off of the domestic problems, puts them on international problems. They will stand still for increased taxation, increased regulation, increased controls, all in the name of war. Don't we have that with the war on terror? Interestingly enough, speaking of the Council on Foreign Relations, in this article in the New York Times by Nicholas Kristof, he names some of the key players who are economic advisors to Mitt Romney and his foreign policy advisors. They're very interesting. And these are the individuals that Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times says are advising Romney, and he really likes these people. And they may be the ones that will save Romney from being a conservative. He said he was a conservative, now a liberal, now he's a conservative, and these people may help him to become more of a moderate, more of a progressive. Well, I find the history of the Republican Party is give the rhetoric to the conservatives. When you get into office, give the action to the progressives and internationalists. You can get a portent of that by looking at the individuals that they look to for advice. Now, these are the advisors that Kristof says are in the Romney team. Gregory Manico describes himself as a new Keynesian economics. John Maynard Keynes was a socialist. And now, of course, it's not old socialism. I guess it's new socialism. And anyway, that's the way he describes himself. He's an advocate of free trade agreements and outsourcing jobs overseas. This is one of his advisors. The other advisor is Glenn Hubbard of the Council on Foreign Relations. Let's look at the foreign affairs individuals that are named in this column who are advising Mitt Romney. Richard Williamson of the Council on Foreign Relations. Megan O'Sullivan of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. Paula Dobronsky, Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission. David Senior, or Senior, I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. He's an adjunct senior fellow with the Council on Foreign Relations. Dov Zakheim, Council on Foreign Relations. And the only thing that I can't find anything on is Eric Edelman. He apparently is not a member of the CFR or any of these other things. But this is a portent of what's going to happen if Mitt Romney becomes president of the United States. As Goldwater used to say in his books, they change the people in the White House, but the policies never change. And the policies never change because the Council on Foreign Relations and their ilk are always in charge of the State Department and have been since World War II. In fact, during World War II. They set the policy. It's the bureaucrats. The president is just a figurehead and follows the advice and pressure from his advisors and those that put him there. I just thought you'd like to know a little bit more about what's going on in the Romney camp and in the Gingrich camp. Gingrich is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Romney is just surrounded by them. Till next week, we'll see you then.